Hello and welcome to my mid-year book freakout tag. Rachel and I you've seen Rachel on this channel before, we just FaceTimed and did this whole tag. So Rachel, I don't know if you're watching this, but if you are, you don't need to because So, let's get started. So, my favorite books of the year so far have been, I couldn't pick just one because, you know, I'm annoying like that. In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado and Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is some of the most beautiful prose I've ever read in my life. Just genuinely, like, pretty, but not purpley. Just lovely and literary and still very easily consumable. I mean, trigger warning for abuse, but tremendous. This is not the most, like, beautiful, literary, like, well-executed book I've ever read. However, it just feels like being wrapped in a hug. So it is 100%. If you need a comfort read and you like libraries and you like dark, mysterious men, then this is the book for you. Next, the best sequel that I read. This book is here purely because I don't read, like, series. I don't. I'm very much a standalone novel kind of gal. So I read this 2 days ago, and it is the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. It is the prequel to the Hunger Games series, and I liked it enough, but did I really? I don't know. It's a prequel, so it fills the slot, but I just have an issue with the idea that Suzanne Collins has created such a rich world of characters. Like, just so many brilliant characters in the Hunger Games series. And she picks, inevitably when you write a book about someone or from someone's perspective, you make them a sympathetic character because you're putting the reader in the head of the character. And it's hard to not have some level of empathy when you are looking at life through someone else's eyes. And I just really draw issue with the idea of it being the fascist oppressor that she chose to make the point of the novel. Because, like, especially, I mean, right now, you had to do it right now. Like, we're living through a civil revolution, and you had to release President Snow isn't that bad, he just hates poor people, but, like, it's okay. He's still got a heart. You know, he used to be poor, and that's why. It didn't feel necessary. I would have far rather had read a book from Gail's perspective, or Finnick's perspective, or Annie's perspective. Just so many other options, and she picked President Snow. So, new release that I haven't read yet, but I want to. This is not even a new release anymore. It's way back in the past, and it is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This has been on my TBR ever since I heard about it, and I know that it came out like last year, and I just have not had time to read it. And my sincerest hope is that, because I just read it for my women's studies class, so my sincerest hope is that I feel propelled to read it. So far that hasn't happened, but maybe if I put it in a plain view, it'll finally happen. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year, Sweet Dark by Savannah Brown. If you don't know Savannah Brown, you are missing out. Look her up on YouTube. She does the most beautiful poetry. Her poetry is what got me into writing poetry. It is amazing, it's beautiful, it's complex, and I cannot recommend it enough. This is her second collection, and I'm beyond excited to read it. I actually have not read her first collection yet. I should get on that. However, I will be reading The Truth About Keeping Secrets, which is her debut novel, this week, so I think I can get a little street cred on that. My biggest disappointment of the year so far has been Bunny by Mona Awad. What a weird book, bro. Like, just so strange. I went through a huge dark academia phase at the end of 2019, and I was just libbying it up. I had all these books planned, and I read this, and the first half of it is very, you know, what you expect. It's like secret history kind of vibe, but it's not like, it's obviously not as good as the secret history, but you know, it does its job. And then the second half of the novel just devolves so quickly and spirals, and it can be very graphic and gross. And I think that this is definitely a book for many people, but it is not a book for me. The biggest surprise read that I've had this year, I decided to take this in a positive direction. This is The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Dimeline, and I had to read it for my sci-fi class in the spring semester, and it's amazing. Like, I never would have heard of this book without this class, and it's a Canadian book, and I was just expecting it to be just another sci-fi book, but it is so powerful, and the premise is brilliant. So I kind of talked about this in my March wrap-up, I think, but the idea is that in a world that's been ravaged by climate change and global warming, white people are hunting down indigenous populations to steal their bone marrow because white people have lost the ability to dream. So the only remaining sense of dreaming is in the bone marrow of indigenous peoples. So it's super interesting, and it was such a good book. I had no idea about it, and I didn't think it was gonna be good, but it was amazing. Favorite new author? This author is not a new author. She's actually quite old, but new to me. I got my first Octavia Butler books under my belt this year. Read Pearl with a Sour for that same sci-fi class, and then I read this for my women's studies class. Both are amazing. I look forward to picking up more books from her. This especially made me cry like a baby, so. My newest fictional crush is Nathaniel Thorne from A Sorcery of Thorns. And, you know, my new favorite character is Jane Eyre. I've read Jane Eyre for the first time this year, and she's just my favorite little feral goblin person. I love her. She's just absolutely wild and hardcore, and I think she's awesome. A book that made me cry this year, Red, White, and Royal Blue. I reread this for my fellowship. I literally, when I FaceTimed Rachel about this, I was telling her about it, and I started crying on the call. So I'm not going to talk to you about it right now because I'm not emotionally stable enough to articulate what it is about this that makes me upset. But if you are a queer person or an American or someone who enjoys romance novels or someone who enjoys feeling things, then you have to read Red, White, and Royal Blue. Just get on out there and read it. A book that made me happy is Sick Kids in Love by Hannah Moskowitz. I will tell you right now that this book is not a literary phenomena. It's not spectacularly written, but I felt seen by the characters. There is just this fundamental feeling of being known when you read representation, and it is so impactful, which is why having diverse voices in the publishing industry is so important. The most beautiful book I bought this year was Born by Jeff Vandermeer. I read this for my environmental humanities class in the spring semester, and I think this cover is just exactly what it needs to be to get the point across. It is just, Jeff Vandermeer by himself is just such a his mind is fascinating, and also this book is fascinating. If you haven't read Born by Jeff Vandermeer, I recommend picking it up. What books do I need to read before the end of the year? Too many books. Too many books. I've kept myself to 4 because that felt like the lowest I could go, and I've got 2 and 2. So my first 2 are books that I have not read, and that is previously mentioned The Truth About Keeping Secrets by Savannah Brown, and also The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I'm ashamed I haven't read this yet. This has been on my shelf for ages, and it still hangs out unread right next to my bed. So, I don't know what it's gonna, I just slapped myself in the face. Oh my god. I don't know what it's gonna take to read this. Maybe if I keep it in plain view, I'll get it done, but who knows. She's a chunky little bud, but you know, #1 national bestseller, so I'm assuming it's going to be a fun little ride. The second 2 are rereads. I've been doing a lot of rereads this year. So the first one of that is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This book is so good. It is not for everyone, and I will straight up tell you now that in many parts, it is queer trauma porn, like, very much so, and I accept that about it, and that's kind of something I like about it. No, okay, that's not the right way to say it. I don't like that sometimes it does feel like Yanagihara is using trauma to, like, pull heartstrings in a way that she, like, wouldn't be able to otherwise. However, I also deeply appreciate that this novel shows that you don't have to end up happy. And that sounds like a very maudlin and morbid, like, sad message, but I think it's a very important one. I think it's very important to show that sometimes happy endings aren't there for people. And that's why I love this book so much. So, it's a downer. I'm gonna read it this weekend and I'm gonna cry my eyes out and be super sad, but I do want to reread it because I think it has a really important message, and I think its character development is incredible. Finally, I want to reread Linden Hills by Gloria and Naylor. I've talked about this book on my channel before. It was in my top 10 in 2018, and it is amazing. It is basically this idea that, hold on, let me read it to you. As one observer points out, Linden Hills isn't black, it's successful. It has taken 150 years for its residents to become upper and middle class, and they will not readily yield what they have struggled to gain, the chance to move down the hill from First Crescent Drive towards the swanker 8th Crescent on Tupelo Drive. So, the idea is that this suburban neighborhood is the 8 circles of hell. 7 circles of hell. 9 circles of hell. I've never read Dante, but it talks about how black people have to perform an affect as white to, like, have financial success and economic success because this country doesn't allow black people to succeed. And it's a beautifully written novel. It's really well developed, and I have been wanting to reread it ever since I read it the first time. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you enjoyed this super fast and super croaky. I can't even remember the book tag title, but I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.